Hi everyone, welcome back to my lab and today's video, which is going to be a review and demo tutorial on the Natasha Denona Tropic palette. This is a limited edition palette that just recently released about a week ago. I've had my palette for about that long. I purchased it myself from Sephora.com and I have opinions to share with you, and I know it's been a slightly controversial palette as well. I'll touch upon that too if you're interested in hearing my thoughts. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and get started. So this is the Natasha Denona Tropic palette. It retails for $129, as do most of her other 15 pan palettes, like the Natasha Denona Lila palette, which is the most recent release prior to this one. First of all, can we talk about the packaging upgrade? My goodness, this is beautiful package. It is completely hard plastic, and on the other side, it also has little holes where you can pop the shadows out if you would like to rearrange them or put them inside another palette for travel. So this is what the packaging looks like. It's beautiful. Now me personally, I wasn't too keen on the color. It just looks a little bit like toy-like to me, but I understand why she chose the color, and it definitely does highlight the shades that are inside. Here's the packaging up close. I apologize, my ring light catches the reflection. As you can see, you do have a full-size mirror, and the shade names are actually written on the palette itself. There are a variety of finishes in this palette. You have mostly creamy matte shades, but you do have 2 sparkle shimmers as well as 1 duochrome and 2 metallic shades. Now the lifetime of this palette is 24 months, which is on par with her other palettes. However, the discrepancy with this palette came with the amount of product that you do receive. With the Lila palette as well as the Sunset palette, you do receive 2.5 grams per shadow, and in this particular palette, it is labeled as 1.5 grams per shadow. Now, it's been explained that the discrepancy is that there's a new formulation and that it's a little bit lighter, so you're still getting the same amount. Now, that would mean that you're receiving the same amount by volume, meaning the pan sizes are the same. Now the pan sizes do appear to hold the same amount of volume in terms of the shadows. However, the standard that has always been used to determine how much product you're receiving has been mass, and so I will continue to use mass as a standard unless that's otherwise changed to volume. And so I will have to say that this particular eyeshadow palette does give you less amount of product, and the cost per gram is going to be a lot higher than it would be inside the Lila palette. Now, in my personal opinion, the packaging kind of offsets that, because if you consider, for example, the Pat McGrath eyeshadow palettes, they're super expensive, but the packaging is also super luxe. And I think that even though this packaging is not on par with that, it's still very beautiful, and it is still a definite improvement over this sort of foam core kind of pleather packaging. I also want to include some swatches, so I'm going to go ahead and swatch the palette for you. This is the first row: Peach Puff, Sangria, Fake Tan, Cocoa, and Sahara. These are all creamy mattes. The next row is Nudist, Vintage Taupe, Pastel Melon, Gusty, and Limoncello. First 3 are creamy mattes. Gusty is a sparkle shimmer, and Limoncello is a duochrome. The last row, and definitely the most fun row, is Mint Frost, Exotic, Laguna, Tiger Lily, and Xena. From this row, the 3rd and last shades are creamy mattes, the 2nd and 4th are metallics, and the first one is a sparkle shimmer. Now, one interesting thing to note is that a lot of people were saying that the bottom part of the palette was basically the Soft Glam eyeshadow palette, and I don't think that's true. I mean, there are definitely lighter shades, but I actually like that because Natasha Denona's eyeshadow palettes are traditionally very rich in colors. Now, they are self-blending, which means you can blend them out as you use them, but the way a lot of people apply makeup, they start with a gradient, so they work with a lighter shade and they gradually get darker. And so if you're used to applying makeup that way, this palette is actually quite handy and a nice companion palette to the Lila palette, because if you look at the Lila palette, mine is really well loved. You can see that it's considerably darker in tone, and you can create a lot more day appropriate looks or more wearable looks for the everyday kind of makeup look if you combine this palette with this one, especially in the terms of those creamy matte transition shades. I actually was really excited to get this palette because of those transition shades, and I found that even on my medium skin tone, they do show up, and they do show up differently. Like, you can get a more peachy look, you can get a warmer look, and you can get a more rose tone, cool tone look if you use the shade Vintage Rose and Sangria, for example, which I do have on my eyes today. So I actually appreciate the color scheme, and I thought I wasn't going to, but I really do. Now, as I mentioned, I've had the palette for about a week, and I've used pretty much every single shade in here. The only two that I have not used are the Zena and the Laguna shade, but I've used absolutely everything else, and I have to say that the quality is fine. The creamy mattes blend out just like you would expect, and they actually show up on my skin tone. I did find that as a whole, the shade Cocoa works really well for deepening up some of these colors. I used it to deepen up Sangria today, and it worked really well. You can create a neutral look if you stay in this area. I actually really like the palette, and it's performed well for me. Now, if you are new to Natasha Denona, this is not where I would recommend you start. I think that a better starting point if you like warm neutrals would be the Natasha Denona Sunset palette, and I like this one because there's a lot more shade diversity. You have some lighter ones and you have some darker ones as well, so it could be a more versatile, user-friendly palette. And so if you're new to Natasha Denona, this is my recommendation. The quality is great, and I think you'll really enjoy it. But if you are not new to Natasha Denona and you're just debating if you want to add this palette to your collection, I like it. Again, I know not everybody does, but I really did, and I want to show you the eye looks that I created so that you can see for yourself the experience that I had with the palette. I do think that this one has a little bit more fallout, especially with the metallic shades, than her usual palettes do, but if you do your eyes first, then that wouldn't really be a problem. Or you can set down some powder and brush it as well. So let's go ahead and get into the demo so that you can see how I applied it. I used a variety of different brushes. I used the Sonia G brushes because I recently did a review on that one as well, but I also used my regular brushes so that you can see how it works with those as well. So let's go ahead and get into the tutorials, and I'll come back with my final thoughts. I'm beginning the look with the Sonia G Worker 2 brush and the shade Sahara, and I'm putting that all along my upper crease. Same brush and the shade Vintage Taupe. Same brush and the shade Peach Puff. This one is going right into the crease. Next, I'm taking a Sonia G Builder 2 brush and the shade Nudist, and I'm going to apply that all over my lid. Next, on a Sonia G Pencil 2 brush, I'm going to work that all into my crease. I'm using the shade Sangria. And now I'm taking the original Worker 2 and I'm just going to buff out the edges. Next, I'm taking that Pencil 2 and dipping lightly in the shade Cocoa. And that one gets placed in the outer V. Next, I'm going to take that same pencil brush and I'm going to run the shade Peach Puff all along the lower lash line. Now this is a pretty eye look in and of itself, so if you're not interested in experimenting with color, you can definitely stop here. You can add some wing liner if you want, some mascara, and it's a very beautiful rosy kind of look. I like it, but I am also in the middle of demonstrating some brushes, and so I wanted to add a little bit more of a pop of color. So I'm taking a Sonia G Smudger 2 brush, and I'm going to smudge this all along my lower lash line. Next, I'm taking the Smudger 1 brush and the shade Limoncello. And that goes along the arch of my brow. And now with that same Smudger 1, I'm going to take the shade Mint Frost and I'm going to add it to my inner corner. Just to make sure the blue really pops, I'm going to add a little bit of blue liner into my inner rim. I'm using this Benefit They're Real Beyond Blue mascara on the lower lash line and my Tartist mascara on my upper lash line, and that will complete the look. And this is your finished look. I've primed my eyes using my MAC Soft Ochre paint pot, and I have set that down with some translucent powder. And now I'm going into a Goss 03 brush and the shade Pastel Melon. I'm just creating a very soft crease here. I'm also sort of angling the shade outward. A lot of Natasha Denona's looks have these elongated styles, and that's what I was going for today. I'm also going to work that shade along the lower lash line in a triangle fashion and pulling upward. And with the same brush, I'm going to go into the shade Nudist, and I'm going to work that into the crease. I'm going to work that along the lower lash line also and elongate upward. Next, I'm using a Goss 04 and the shade Sangria. And I'm going a little bit lower into my crease. I'm still elongating outward when I get to the edge of my eye. I'm going to also add that to my lower lash line, but focusing more on the outer third and also flicking it upward. Once that's roughly sat down, I'm going to take the original brush and just blend all the colors together. And again, I'm just flicking the edge outward and upward. Next, I'm taking a Morphe E19 and just a little bit of my paint pot, and I'm going to begin to cut out my crease. I'm only doing this where the shade Mint Frost is going to be. Next, I'm taking the shade Mint Frost and I am tapping that over the paint pot. Next, I'm taking a Goss 07 brush and the shade Exotic, and I am just patting that on the rest of my lid. I'm using the shade straight out of the palette. I'm not dampening my brush, and I do not have a sticky base on this part of my eye. This shade does have a little bit of fallout, as you can see on my nose. I'll just brush that away in a little bit. When I get to the corner, I'm going to flick this color upward as well. When I have the pigmentation that I want, I'm going to turn my brush around to the part that doesn't have any color, and I'm just going to blend in between the two shades. I'm blending towards the Mint Frost shade. Next, I'm going to go in with a little bit more of Sangria and just intensify the crease. Next, I'm going to take my eyeliner by NARS. This is in the shade Barrow Street, and I'm going to line my lower lash line. And with the Zoeva 317, I'm going to stamp just a little bit of the green along the lower lash line, just on the outer third. And I'm going to flick it upwards. Next, I'm taking a MAC 228 and the shade Limoncello, and I'm going to put that on the inner corner. And I'm going to take that same shade and just lightly dust it along my brows. I did put a little bit of green mascara on my lower lash line. This one is by MAC and it's just a little mini. And I applied regular mascara on the upper lashes and false lashes. So I will finish off the look and I will be right back. And this is the finished eye look. I did use a little bit of black eyeshadow to line my lashes to disguise my falsies. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed the looks that I created. I did lastly want to add that this palette has a 24-month shelf life, which is on par with her other palettes. And as I said, I've been enjoying it. Hopefully you can understand when you see my demos and see that I really experienced no trouble with the eyeshadows at all. Yeah, I would definitely love to hear your thoughts on the palette. This isn't one that I would recommend to everyone. The Sunset palette is one that I would recommend to everyone. So this one may or may not be your cup of tea, but I just wanted to share my thoughts. I'm happy to add it to my collection. I'm a big fan of Natasha Denona as an artist and also as a brand. And yeah, I'm loving the palette and I'm really happy to have it. It was definitely one of the birthday presents to myself for this month. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give this one a thumbs up. Leave me any questions that you might have in the comment section down below. If you're new to my channel, I would love to have you subscribe and join me on a future video. I do upload every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And to my existing YouTube friends, thank you so much for continuing to be here. I appreciate all so much and I love chatting with you in the comment section. Again, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you're having a lovely day and I look forward to seeing you again really, really soon on my next one. Bye-bye.